Transcript of TBLE hearing proceedings M. Archer Parsley, welcome. This is case 324 to 10 Charles Van Morgan. Mr. Morgan, we're the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners. I'm Bob Parsley, Travinia Holden, Jason Long and Carol Wenzel. Our fifth member is Ms. Pep, who can't be with us today, but may read the transcript from the hearing. So we're here based on a show cause order. And, we have asked you to come and talk with us, and we'll just have you put under oath. Charles Van Morgan was called as a witness, and after having been first duly sworn, testified as follows. M. Archer Parsley, all right. Mr. Morgan, what do you have to say to us about the show cause order? The witness Charles Van Morgan, okay. I did read the order. Very disappointed, in the words of Clarence Thomas, with all due respect, when he was before the committee to get his nomination to the Supreme Court, he said that this is like a high-tech lynching. And paraphrased to me, for people that are raised fatherless, poor, white folk raised fatherless, without politics and state government, and that are denied to think for themselves. And I find the accusations against me false, and I would ask you all to listen. Due process is a right. I know that it's different because being a lawyer is a privilege, but due process is a right. And that means you don't have to decide in my favor, but that does mean that you have to listen to what I say and consider it. That's all I'm asking. Quite frankly, that has not been done, in my opinion. I don't think that's been done. And so I would like for you to listen to what I have to say today, listen to the evidence I have, and consider it. And you can make whatever decision you want. For example, in the last hearing, the fact that I made a mistake on my application, and I did make a mistake on my application, and there was a reason for that, I explained it in detail. I can show you the transcript. It was not an intent to deceive anybody. I was working my taxi business and trying to fill out the application the best I could. And I apologize for the mistake. And as soon as I was notified, I corrected it, putting all the cases in for the administrative hearing, where I was under oath, wrongfully terminated. I have evidence of that. And I won't change my mind the court got it wrong. The court does. Plessy versus Ferguson, the court gets some things wrong sometimes. I understand that. They affected me by getting things wrong. I was in law school before all that happened, and I was still trying to further my career, and some bad things happened in the highway patrol. But I still continued in law school. But the order, I believe, most of it is completely false. M. Archer Parsley, excuse me. Which order are you discussing? The witness Charles Van Morgan, the one I got today. M. Archer Parsley, the show cause order. Okay. Thank you. The witness Charles Van Morgan, the last one said that you all still had concerns about that. Okay? Now, and this is the due process thing. And you all can still have concerns, but it's like I'm talking to the wall. If you're not going to listen to anything I say, then just go ahead and say that we're not going to give you your law license, and put me out the door. Don't put me through all that stuff. Quite frankly, that order that's not good for my mental health to hear that stuff. I went to law school trying to practice law and further my future, not to be slammed by people. That's not appropriate. I don't mistreat anybody. And I told them then, in that hearing, that the mistake I made, and I corrected it immediately, and in this particular application, I put all that in there. So it's like there's nothing I could do, you're still concerned about that. And to me that's not due process, that's not even fair. You won't even let me correct a mistake. And I don't think that's right. I'm just being candid with you. And then the order goes on to continue to slam me and say false stuff about me that's just absolutely not true. And I'm just being candid with you. I'm telling you the way I see it. All you can do is not give me my law license for going to law school, passing the bar and trying to be a lawyer. That to me is something that someone should aspire to be, and I ask you to allow me to do that. I'm more qualified to be a lawyer than most people. I have an education in sociology and criminology. I know the plight of the poor. I'm a big fan of Dr. Martin Luther King, John Lewis, some of those people that the greatness of America is the right to protest for rights. And I do that, and I'm slammed for that. I've never been violent with anybody. And that show cause order, it talks about me being arrested. And there's a case versus, I think it's a Board of Law Examiners in Arizona. And that case talks about a man that was arrested, and he refused to answer questions about his arrest. He was denied, even though he wasn't convicted just because of the conduct of being arrested. I'll be glad to answer any questions about my arrest. I did nothing wrong. You can be arrested and do nothing wrong. I served 20 years in law enforcement. I did nothing wrong. The case was dismissed. I filed a civil suit against the officers. I was hoping they would dismiss it on the first court appearance they gave me. Since they didn't, I went and filed in civil court, exercised my rights in federal court. I'm not going to apologize to that. I'll always exercise my rights. It's wrong to attack people. It's not wrong. I have never heard any attorney say that it's wrong to file a civil lawsuit. That's amazing to me. It's like in that show cause order I've done wrong by filing a civil lawsuit. That's ludicrous. I might file another one if I feel like my rights are mistreated and go before a judge and let them adjudicate things. That's how you handle things. That's the appropriate right thing to do. And in that show cause order that's looked on as being bad. How can you win that? It's impossible. The criminal charges were dismissed. I did nothing wrong. It's Law School 101, when you're approached by officers in a menacing manner, if you're free to go, then you go. I asked them if I was free to go, they didn't, and they started asking me questions. You don't have to answer questions, I'm not answering questions. I told them that. Then they arrested me on false charges. And the charges were dismissed. And then before they were dismissed, I filed a civil suit. And because I did not want to sue those police officers, the police officers make mistakes, I didn't want to affect their career, I had the charges dismissed. They were still on the hook, I can show you, in federal court. And the charges were dismissed. Going to be dismissed. I still had those officers on the hook, or I could have went to court, and if they released the body cam, they would tell you exactly what I said. A federal judge knows the constitutional rights. And I could have won money, I think, from the Chattanooga Police Department, but I didn't want to do that to those officers. And that's the reason I dismissed the case. I have a heart. I've been a police officer. And I dismissed the case. And things like that are being used against me, which believe are not fair. Now if I do something wrong, I'll admit to it. I shouldn't have talked to my sister like I did. There are a lot of lies that were told about that, and I have witnesses that say that I wasn't violent to anybody. My personality, as you can see, is pretty flamboyant, but are you going to exclude different personalities from the practice of law? I don't think that's fair. I mean, you've got a shell you want to put people in? That's not right. I think that I can help a lot of people. And I have worked hard to get where I'm at. They don't mail degrees in the mail. You know, you have to go earn them. They didn't mail me a JD. I spent hours getting my JD. I couldn't afford to rent a hotel. I came all the way down here to Nashville School of Law. I couldn't afford to rent a hotel. I parked in a Kroger parking lot and slept in a van in my captain seat all night. About 4 years I slept in my van to go to law school for 2 nights a week. And then on the last year 3 nights a week. I worked hard to do that. You all know it's not easy to get through law school. And I worked hard doing that. I also have this degree I brought here. This means a lot to me. You can't take this away from me. This is powerful. Marta Parsley, that's your Nashville School of Law degree? The witness Charles Van Morgan, this is powerful. I know my rights, and I will exercise them, and I won't apologize for it. I won't run over people, but that's a powerful degree. I would like to use that to help people. And I ask you to please allow me to do that. I will obey the rules of professional conduct. I haven't been a lawyer. You all made that decision, the other board made that decision. I didn't make that decision. I have protested, and, that's what you get.
I also have a Master of Arts degree from the University of Tennessee, and I'm proud of that. I got that. That's the reason why I got on with the highway patrol. And I know a little bit about sociology. I know a little bit about people. There's certain people that can pedal as hard as they can. They can work and get degrees, and society, boards, won't let them get what they've earned. And then there's other people, and I'm just telling you frankly, there's other people that get by with doing nothing and they're given stuff. And that's what Dr. Martin Luther King was involved in. They used to do black people that way. And I think they do a lot of poor people that way. I'm from South Knoxville, which is the way I was raised. I didn't have any brothers. I had to fight for myself. And so I know a little bit about sociology. And the truth of the matter is, this degree right here, the same one Clement Jr. has, he didn't have any problem getting his law license and got him a job on the appeals court. It's about who's your daddy. And that's what I think, and that's not right. I wish you would correct that. This right here, Mr. Parsley, is that Judge Clement on the Court of Appeals you're talking about? The witness Charles Van Morgan. Yeah. And he decided against me in my case to get my job back with the State Highway Patrol. And I can show you evidence that a judge will allow perjury in a courtroom. And that's not right. And I'm not saying I hate judges, but they shouldn't be that way, and there's a means to complain. I even am being questioned about making a complaint for a judge, which I went through the proper procedure to make a complaint on a judge that I seen him engage in misconduct. I'm not saying the judge should be fired, but someone stayed in jail as a result of that judge's misconduct. In America, Mr. Parsley, is that the judge that issued the order of protection? The witness Charles Van Morgan, social order of protection. Mr. Parsley, okay. The witness Charles Van Morgan, right? Now, I'll tell you, before my case was heard, I was in court, and the attorney even mentioned this, too. I know he said that you all have. The order has it wrong. It says that he said that he didn't have any problems with the way the judge acted.
Now, I talked to him, and what he said was that he didn't make the complaint. Now, I've talked to him about that. We agreed that the judge shouldn't have did what he did. Now, you all have got his law license. Of course he's not going to complain about it. I mean, that's the way it is. You make a complaint on a judge, even if it's legitimate, you might lose your law license. I'm just telling you frankly. I mean, there was a judge in the Knox County courthouse that raped women for years, with police officers guarding him in the courthouse and nobody ever complained about him. And they should have. But, if you make people afraid to complain about judges, which is, that's not right. That's just absolutely not right. But the judge, what he did was in a prior hearing, he asked a lady, Marta Parsley, what's the judge's name? Mr. Salone, was it Greg McMillan? The witness Charles Van Morgan, McMillan, yes. Mr. Salone, the domestic judge in Knox County. The witness Charles Van Morgan, and I understand that's a high stress, high complaint position. I understand that. But still, I think you have to follow the law. What he did was he had a lady that was trying to keep her son in jail, wasn't trying to keep her son in jail, but had an order of protection against her grandson because he busted a window. And the judge asked her, he said, and it's on video, the video could have been looked at. The judge asked her, why are we here today? And she said, my grandson busted a window out. So I got an order of protection against him. But I think he just did it by accident. He said he did it by accident. Because she was wanting to back out of it, it's her grandson. And he said, well, how does that make you feel? And the judge, the lady told her it makes me angry. And Judge McMillan said, well, I can't give you an order of protection because it makes you angry. How does it really make you feel? And she said, well, it makes me mad. And he said, but I can't give you an order of protection over that. And a Knox County deputy, while she's already signing over, walked over to her, and even the attorney heard her say this, tell them you're in fear. That's witness tampering. So she said I'm in fear, the judge puts his gavel down and the young man stays in jail. Now that's not right. I reported that. He shouldn't have done that. That's the first thing my sister said about me, that she was in fear. I mean, it let everybody know those are the buzzwords. That's what you've got to say. And I complained about that. I think that I should. I wouldn't complain about judges frivolously. And I know that he ruled against me. He wouldn't let me answer questions. He got me on the witness stand and the attorney asked me why I was at my sister's house. And I was explaining, and you've got to understand, I think, that I'm being drugged into court. I'm a free citizen. I'm being drugged into court. Unlike this. I'm not asking to come to court. I was out campaigning for a public office. I'm being forced into court under threat of arrest, so I should have the right to explain my actions. I mean, there should be a lot of leeway in that. You know, you're talking, but so I told him that I was going over to my mother's house, that I had got there late, the other sisters were there, because I parked behind them. And he wouldn't let me say that. He said he asked you where you were at. And I was trying to explain that I was there last. I was blocking in my sisters that I was not. When someone on the tape said let her out, they weren't talking about let my sister out that I was having an argument with. They were talking about letting my sister Donna out, who should be on the line to explain that. Because I was parked behind her in the driveway. It was an audio-only tape. There's a videotape of me arguing before the appeals court on that issue. I explained it. Well, and they decided against me. And I admit, I should not have talked to my sister that way, and I apologized for that. But I did not violently block her in or anything like that. Or threaten her in any way. She said I beat on the table. I didn't do anything like that. And she had been inciting me for months. She told me that I didn't get my law license because I didn't pass the bar exam, which I did, and things like that. And my mother had just died, and it was a high-tense situation. We were arguing about money. And I didn't want any of the money. I paid for my mother's funeral, which I'm very proud of. They wanted to pay me back, and I didn't want to do that because that's my mother, you know? I was proud of paying for it. They were arguing about money, and she recorded me. I didn't know she was recording me. And I shouldn't have said that, and I apologize for that. So that was the reason for that. And I complained on the judge. I think that I had a right to. I don't think that he should be, that they should run a courthouse like that. But if there's any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them or I'll go on. Mara Parsley, well, you've talked about the order of protection and what about? I think there were some issues about distributing flyers around the Nashville School of Law. The witness Charles Van Morgan, yes, I did. I was running for public office, and in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, the greatness of America is the right to protest for a right. And I was running for public office on a position of public corruption, and the things I stood, the flyer I passed out, I stand behind, I apologize. I thought I turned it off. Apologize. Mara Parsley, that's okay. The witness Charles Van Morgan, but I was running for public office on the First Amendment, and I think that's part of the First Amendment. I thought about everything I said. It was absolutely correct, and I stand behind that. I'm not going to apologize for that. I spent a lot of time getting this degree, and it means nothing. And people might have a right. The Nashville School of Law has a bigger stance than me. When I was at the Nashville School of Law, they had a lady that got arrested for drunk driving. And she didn't report that to the law school, and I think even the board. And the dean of the law school, Dean Loser, who was the previous one, went with her to the board to try to get her a law license. And I asked them to help me, and they wouldn't help me, so I have a right to criticize them. I spent 4 years there, they took my money, and it's not about money, it's about helping people. And I owe $30,000 in student loans right now. They accepted me into law school, and now I can't get my law license. That's something that makes me angry, and I have a right to speak about that, and I do. If you make someone angry, they might speak out about you. The Supreme Court justices retire and then they're over law schools that get federal student loan money, so, that's where I'm at with that. They shouldn't have ever let me in law school. And then I reported I was terminated from the Highway Patrol on my application, wrongfully, which I believe I was. And I'll go into that if you want me to. I've had to deal with that all my life, which is not right. I lost that job and I was in law school before I got terminated. And I don't believe that. Marva Parsley, was that at LMU? The witness Charles Van Morgan, yeah. Marva Parsley, so you were going to Lincoln Memorial while you were a state trooper? The witness Charles Van Morgan, right. Marva Parsley, so did you withdraw from school after you lost your trooper job? The witness Charles Van Morgan, well, they pretty much ran me out of the school because it lowered my grades and said I couldn't pass in law school. It was a way to get rid of me because of the public pressure. And obviously I could get through law school, I did. But, yeah, they pretty much showed me the door after all the public information came out. Mars alone, I'm sorry. And I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought, but you said lowered your grades. So you're saying that grades you had already obtained at LMU were then subsequently lowered? Or you started receiving lower grades after this incident? The witness Charles Van Morgan, I started receiving lower grades. Mr. Lone, and you think those lower grades were in direct response to LMU officials wanting to get you out of LMU law school and using your grade point average as a pretextual reason to do so? Yes. I actually contested my grades. They didn't like that either. Mars Lone, what was the result of the contest of your grades? Did you do that administratively through the law school? The witness Charles Van Morgan, yes. They left them the same. Mr. Alone, was there a hearing on that? The witness Charles Van Morgan, I talked to the professors and they said that the grades would stay the same. Mr. Lone, so when you say you protested, you went to the individual professors who had assigned you grades and you said, I don't believe this properly reflects the grade I should have gotten, and they disagreed with you, the witness Charles Van Morgan, right? And they kept them the same. And they agreed and, which they're not releasing anything that they released to you all, which is their right. I don't know what they said, but they agreed that they would let me resign from the school in good standing. That's what they agreed to. Now, I don't know what they're doing in a waiver that I signed, trying to get out of that school in good standing. And then I was encouraged to try to go to Nashville School of Law. And I thought, well, they'll never accept me. And I put on the application I was terminated wrongfully from the highway patrol and they accepted me into law school under the other administration. And then a new administration took over and they're a little bit different now. I didn't report every update to the hearings. I didn't think about that. I've talked to other lawyers. I was in law school, busy studying. It wasn't any kind of deceit. And I thought I would win. It was pretty obvious to me that a trooper passes a wreck in the middle of the night, when the car is off the road in the dark, that people can understand that he didn't see it. Why would he pass a wreck? I mean, it doesn't make sense because he thinks he's going to get by with what? I mean, you get a cookie and a ribbon? I mean, that's silly. You pass a wreck off the road that you're in pursuit of because you didn't see it. That makes sense. But you get lawyers involved and state lawyers in some of them, and they twist and spin things and make it dangerous for your children. And I had media follow my children around which, makes me very angry. And I'm not going to hurt anybody, but I don't appreciate that. And I didn't do anything wrong. I was out protecting society. I made more arrests than any trooper in the state. And let me just say this, imagine you're on patrol with the highway patrol and you've went through 3 academies and you've been in law enforcement for about 10 years. And you're on patrol with the highway patrol and you get a call, a 10 to 46, which is a wreck with injury, multiple 10-90s, which are dead people, and you go to that wreck, and it's not like TV, it's the real thing. And you walk up to a car and you see a little boy in the back seat about 13 years old laid over in the seat and the ambulance people tell you he's been pronounced dead. Now that has an impact. And the woman in the front seat driver is dead. There's a Ford Crown Victoria off the side of the road, pretty much similar to the car you're driving, with a man crunched up, and he's dead. There was a young lady in the front seat that survived the wreck. She was on her way to the hospital. And you see this and they got blood from both people. From witnesses, the Ford Crown Victoria went on the wrong side of the road passing cars, and they stayed on the wrong side of the road, didn't get over. And the woman didn't do anything wrong, she was just driving down the road. And he hit her head on and killed 3 people, killed himself and the woman and a 14-year-old. And you see that. And the alcohol level came back, he had alcohol and marijuana in his system, and the woman had a therapeutic level of drugs in her system. So alcohol is involved in both people. Even though she didn't do anything wrong, I wonder if maybe she had been completely sober, would she have been able to avoid that? I don't know. I'm not the judge. But you see that and you think there's nothing I can do about that. But what you can do, and what I did, better than anybody in the state, and I'm bragging, I have a right to, is you can try to take as many drunk drivers off the road, legally, as possible and try to save people, little children. And I did that. I was very proficient in that. More than anybody in the state. One of my last years, this is a recognition for Trooper Charles Van Morgan, Tennessee Highway Patrol for outstanding service in DUI enforcement. This is 2010, the year before that pursuit. MR's long, and just for the record, that's a plaque you received that you're holding up. The witness Charles Van Morgan, right. And that's the reason I did that. And there's a letter from Lieutenant Captain, named blocked out to protect from retaliation from the state of Tennessee, on the highway patrol. And let me say this, these people from the highway patrol that are writing me letters, that to me means a lot. I mean, these people have confidence in me, and I hope that I don't let them down in that. I hope I haven't said anything offensive. I'm just telling you what I think. Those letters, they are writing me, recommending me to the board. And this is a captain with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. And they know I didn't get done right by the highway patrol. And the courts can't, they don't know everything. They weren't there. And I understand that. But I believe they did get it wrong, and they took my job away from me and I don't have my job. But I would like to have my law license so that I can help people. And I won't keep you much more. This is the wreck that I was terminated over, where I'm standing right beside somebody in a car on fire. MR Parsley, so this is photo of a burning car? The witness Charles Van Morgan, and this is the wreck I got fired over. They took my job over this. I'm right there by a car trying to save somebody that was drunk with a 2-something alcohol level, killed himself, was a danger to himself and others. Killed himself, which was sad, but he did that to himself. And I was trying to, had he stopped like the command told him to, he would have been fine. So I could have been killed in that. I mean, I'm not a piece of meat, I'm a person. I could have been killed in that wreck, blown up. And I did nothing wrong. They actually investigated that and put me back to work. And then a lawsuit was filed, a federal lawsuit was filed, and I was terminated the same day the federal lawsuit was filed. So you can put together the pieces. And the lawsuit was dismissed in my favor. So they didn't even win the lawsuit, but they still were able to take my job away from me based on perjury. And I can go into that if you want me to, but I can prove perjury by state officers in trying to get my job from me. And it really wasn't their fault, when you have the colonel telling you to do stuff and you want to get promoted and then you lie under oath. And that's exactly what happened. One of the sergeants brought me into interrogation over that wreck. He said now is the start of the interview, gave me the start date, and said, you know why you're here? And I said, I'm not sure, but it's probably over that incident where the man killed himself. And they gave me the guarantee warning. And in court he asked me during that interview, he said, have you seen the video of the pursuit? And I said, yeah, I seen it that night with supervisors, we watched it about 3 times. And then in court he said that, he testified before the judge, he said that he brought me into the interview, me and him sat down and watched the video that day that he interrogated. And I objected, I wrote down to the lawyer, and I said, no, we didn't watch the video that day. That didn't happen. And the judge questioned him. He says, my attorney questioned him, and he said, so your testimony is here today that you and Mr. Morgan sat down and watched that video. And the reason why he said we sat down and watched the video was because he said that I agreed the car was on fire. When I watched the video with him, I never agreed the car was on fire. I didn't see any fire on the car, but he wanted to say that, outside of the tape recording, obviously. And the judge said I'll find out who's telling the truth, and he asked me, did you sit down and watch that interview? It's in the transcript, watch that video with a trooper Terrell Johnson. And I said no, I didn't. I didn't watch it with him. And the judge said, well, I'll find out who's telling the truth. Okay. And then he ruled that I'm dishonest, which if you look at the videotape in the interrogation, if you're lying, there's tracks to show you're lying sometimes, and you can say, wait a minute. And if you look at the transcript of the interview, he asked me in that transcript, he said, have you seen the video? If we just watched it, why did he ask me if I had seen it? Because we didn't just watch it. He lied under oath. It's called perjury. People should go to jail for that, but I got my job taken away for that. I don't have any hard feelings with him. He's got pressure from the colonel of the highway patrol telling him to do something. But that's perjury under oath. The district attorney in Knoxville said, it's astonishing for me to believe that the trooper didn't see the car off the road and on fire in the middle of the night. There is a witness statement that clearly a lady that night heard a crash. She looked out her bedroom window and guess what? She didn't see anything. Well, I didn't see anything. She didn't see anything. So not only did I not see anything, another lady didn't see anything. And it's on transcript. They interviewed her the next day. She didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. She didn't see anything. The trooper in his report wrote, and I went to law school, too, and I looked for little details. The trooper in his report that took the note from her said she looked out her bedroom window and saw a car that hit a tree and it was on fire. That's not what she said. I can show you the transcript. She said she looked out her bedroom window and could not see anything. It was dark. But he changed the report. On his report that he signed, said she looked out her window and saw a car on fire. She didn't see that. That's not what she said. She said she didn't see anything. Just a lot of little things. When people lie, it shows up. And if you can prove I'm lying, go ahead, I can answer any question you have. They literally put me back to work after that, so I'm just saying. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. Any other questions? I would ask you to give me my law license. I know Johnny Cochran. When he defended O.J. Simpson, he bragged about how great a man he was. An honorable attorney doing his job. I sincerely believe there's a lot of people that shouldn't be in jail that are in jail because of stuff like this. And I would like to help people through the judicial system. And I promise you that I will be respectful. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I apologize for them and do my best to honor the judicial system and obey the rule of law. And I haven't been an attorney. That was your decision, not mine. And, I didn't do anything, pass out flyers before the first board. And one of the people on the first board, I'm just saying, she was convicted of a felony. She said that I'm not honest. I've never been convicted of a felony, never been a theft. I've never been convicted of any crime. One of the reasons is because of my legal education. I know the boundaries. But I've never been convicted of any crime. Barbara Zawalika, sick, she sat on my board, just like you all, and questioned me about my integrity, my honesty, about not putting that in while she was at that time stealing money. So, and telling me that I'm not honest, I'm not supposed to be upset about that? To me, look in the mirror, clean your house, too. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I'm just saying I've earned the law degree, I think. I know I earned the law degree. It was hard for me to pass the bar exam. I had difficulty academically, but I studied for hours and hours. And I ask you all to give me my law license and I promise you that you will not be disappointed, that I will abide by the rules and try to help people, just like I did when I was a trooper, put my life at risk. So one of the most dangerous things you can do in law enforcement is when you take people's freedom away from them. And a lot of officers can get killed that way. And I did that more than any trooper in the state for public safety. I knew it was dangerous, but I did it for public safety to try to protect the public because that's what I swore to do and that's what I did. And there's the award. So I would ask you all to give me my law license. Whether you do or not, that is entirely up to you. I hope that you've listened to me and any other questions I'll be glad to answer. Marta Parsley, one of the things in the show cause order talked about that you made some comments to a trooper at the bar exam back in July 2024. Would you like to address that? The witness Charles Van Morgan, yes, I would. Now, that trooper Howard Green, and, a few years ago he was at the Sevier County Courthouse and he sexually harassed a woman while he was in uniform. So the character of him. He asked a woman if she was there to get her marriage license. She just turned 18. She was there to get her marriage license, and he was in uniform, and he asked her if she had had sex with her boyfriend yet. That's what he asked her and she told him she hadn't. And one of the ladies in the courthouse complained about that. He had to go to sexual harassment classes. And now I worked with him, and he wasn't very good to me. I got a master's degree, and he didn't. And he's a sergeant now. I did a really great job. I think he was afraid I'd get promoted. And I don't care for him too much. Now I shouldn't have said anything to him, but I did. Now they're saying I passed by him numerous times and made an effort. That's not true. That's not true. I take medicine because I have a bladder problem. And I take medicine for that. It's been one of the reasons why it was hard for me to pass the bar exam. I had to go to the restroom. Now I've been taking medicine for that and I had to go to the bathroom. As soon as I go into the bar exam, I go straight to the bathroom. And he was standing by the bathroom door, so of course I walked past him. And I can remember one time I looked at him and I said boo. I probably shouldn't have said that. That was probably rude, I did. One of the times when I was in roll call with him, and I was writing down what the sergeant said, and he was all funny about it, and he said you had to write that down? He did a lot of stuff to harass me when we were on the job about. I shouldn't have said that. I did not hunt him down, and I did not intentionally try to pass him, and so that's not true. The second day he was sitting sort of in the middle, away from the bathroom, and I never passed him. And that to me was exaggerated, and I was upset about having to go to the bar exam again. Yes, I was. I think that I should have been given my license the first time. But I didn't disturb anybody or do anything to disturb the bar exam. The test wasn't going on at that time. And so, that's what I have to say about that. I probably shouldn't have said anything to him, but I did. I don't think that deserves me not getting a law license. Mars Long, there was some reference in the show cause order about comments made to the exam administrator as well. And I think in your response, if I read correctly, you said that we should be concerned with what was actually said. I guess indicating that maybe the statements that were attributed from the administrator were incorrect. Do you recall any conversations or any interactions you had with the bar exam administrator that day? The witness Charles Van Morgan, yes, I do. Mr. Long, tell us about those. The witness Charles Van Morgan, okay. I'm trying to be as nice as I can. Now, when you go to the bar exam, you have the A to B line, C to D line. I was in the line where I had to be to get into the bar exam. She walked up to me and I told her that the stress of the bar exam I'm having, and, I'm getting ready for 2 days of hard work, months of studying, and I said to her, I've already passed the bar exam and you all X'd it out, which they did. When you all had a convicted felon that you said that I wasn't honest, which they did. Now, anything else she said that I said I didn't say. Mr. Long, that's the full extent of your conversation with her. You told her I've already taken the bar exam and you all X'd it out? The witness Charles Van Morgan, no. I said that, I can sue, and I can. I mean, the last lawsuit, I did file a lawsuit against the Board of Law Examiners because I didn't think I was getting due process. They didn't listen to a word I said. I ordered the transcript and I filed with the Tennessee Supreme Court. I'm trying to get my law license. And I filed a federal lawsuit against them based on a case with a board that could apply to law licenses. I mean, I researched the law. What's in a frivolous lawsuit? The federal judge dismissed it without prejudice based on jurisdiction. And you can read the lawsuit. It was completely valid. I alleged age discrimination. Leon Marshall, a trooper, he got fired with the highway patrol, much younger than me, and he had a hearing before an earlier board, and they gave him his law license. I wonder who's his daddy. I'm just saying. And some of the stuff he did was egregious, just stuff that he shouldn't have done. I mean, he arrested somebody and unarrested Mr. Parsley, so you think he got special treatment by the board? The witness Charles Van Morgan, yes, I do. Mr. Parsley, by the Board of Law Examiners? The witness Charles Van Morgan, and he hadn't even been on with the highway patrol as long as me. So I don't think that's fair to give a younger person their law license and then not give me my law license. And I don't know his specific circumstances, but he's a trooper that got terminated, and he got his law license. He's in his 30s. He's a district attorney for the state of Tennessee now, I think, so, good. Congratulations. I'd like to get mine, too. I think that I should. I think that I can defend people. I certainly think that I can defend myself. But I did say that to her. And if I thought it would do any good, if it hurt her feelings, I would apologize to her. But what I said was true. And I have been dragged through the mud. What I feel is wrongful. And if she didn't want me to say something to her, maybe she shouldn't have walked up in the line that I was in, quite frankly. I'm upset about that. Mr. Long, well, what was the intent of you telling? I understand being upset about the situation, and certainly the statement I have done this once and you all X'd it out. What was your intent in conveying to her that you can sue? Why would you make that statement to her? The witness Charles Van Morgan, well, I can. If the law changes, now I don't file frivolous lawsuits. If the law changes, and I will, if I get my law license, that's how I'm going to handle things. If the law changes, and the judge dismissed on a jurisdictional issue. I actually looked into the law about trying to get an injunction about having to come to the board. There's nothing wrong with somebody exercising their rights. I don't want to be here. Quite frankly, I'd rather not. And if the law changes about jurisdiction and I don't get my law license, I will look into it and file a civil lawsuit. I think I'm right about that. And I could. And maybe that's not nice, but Mr. Long, and Mr. Morgan, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just trying to figure out why you would pick that time to tell that to the bar administrator as you're getting ready to, if there was some intentional reason why you made that statement at that time. That's all I'm trying to find out. The witness Charles Van Morgan, nothing intentional, it was just something I said, how I feel, and what I was thinking at the time. I'm sitting there reading for 2 days of intense bar exam, and I've already passed the bar exam. Mr. Long, while we're on the bar exam the day you were taking the bar exam, the other allegation that was referenced in the show cause order is there were some comments, sort of indecipherable, sort of mumbling, but certainly some, I guess, language that was used in front of people who were checking in or bringing in people to take the test. Do you recall any of the statements you made generally using inappropriate language or any kind of language towards the administrators themselves? The witness Charles Van Morgan, I didn't use any foul language. I didn't use any foul language. So no. That's not true. Mr. Long, did you say anything to them? Did you make any comments to them other than I'm here to check in and I'm going to take the bar exam? Were there any other extraneous comments that you made? The witness Charles Van Morgan, are you talking about Mr. Long to the people checking you in and getting you situated for the bar exam? I'm not talking about the administrator or the officer that was there. The witness Charles Van Morgan, I don't remember any statements, anything I made out of line or anything like that, no. No. Did they say that I said something? I mean, I should have a right to know that under due process. So I don't remember saying anything to them, no. Not anything out of line, or I didn't cuss anybody or anything. I'm here the second time trying to get my law license. And you may not even like me. That's not a reason to turn somebody down for their law license. Mr. Parsley, so one question, so you suggested, I think, that if you don't get your law license this time around that you intend to file a lawsuit over that? The witness Charles Van Morgan, no, I didn't say that. Mr. Parsley, okay. The witness Charles Van Morgan, I did not say that. I said if the law changes. I don't file frivolous lawsuits. If the law changes where, the judge dismissed it on jurisdictional issues. Mr. Parsley, right. The witness Charles Van Morgan, now, if I refiled something, that would be frivolous unless something changes about the jurisdiction. Mr. Parsley, I see. The witness Charles Van Morgan, which the judge said he didn't have authority over the bar exam, it's administrative of the state. Now I tried to get around that. I knew that would be a problem. with using the other licensing boards that have turned down people. It was well thought out, you know. I'm not stupid. That where you inhibit competition because you turn to other people and your licensing professionals in that business. And there was some discussion that that could apply. And other lawyers mentioned it could apply to licensing boards. And I mean no ill will. I'm trying to get my law license and use every means. I mean, you go through law school and learn the law and you try to use it to your advantage the best you can. MR for Parsley, so you're talking about like an antitrust violation? The witness Charles Van Morgan, right? Yes. Exactly. And there's case law on that. And he dismissed it. And I could have appealed it to the Sixth Circuit and I didn't. I elected, maybe, to try again. I didn't think that I had much chance. And if the law changes about jurisdiction and I still don't get my law license, I may take another shot at it. If you don't give me my law license here. If you do then, you know, that's it. And I'm not threatening. I didn't win that case. So but, you know, if you make a law student mad, they might sue you. And that's the appropriate way to handle things. I can't imagine a lawyer saying, you know, don't sue. If it's a frivolous lawsuit, I've sued, but none of them have ever been adjudicated frivolous. And that's one of the problems I have with the order, is like they're saying because I sued, and I don't understand that. And also let me address this. There were several lawsuits filed against me when I was a law enforcement officer, and they used that against me. Now, it might be unusual to have a lot of lawsuits. I didn't have a lot. I had one incident when I was sued for UT Police Department based on a drunk driving incident. In that case, the DUI was dismissed. The passenger also sued and it went to trial in federal court. Now, a jury examined that. The other side had their case and the jury said we did nothing wrong, and I didn't. And so that case was ruled in my favor. So why should that be used against me? Because it was adjudicated. That's like observing user participation of the federal court because it was decided in my favor. I had another one when I was at UT Hospital, and I was doing my job. I had another one at UT Hospital where a lady with a patient sued over false arrest because she pushed a nurse, and the nurse called us down to the emergency room. And she said the lady pushed me. And we told her, well, we didn't see it. Do you want to press charges? And she didn't. Well, we can't do anything about it. We can stand by because we didn't see it happen. You can't make an arrest for a misdemeanor unless it's committed in your presence. So we stood outside the room. She pushed her right in our presence. We took her out of the room and talked to the nursing supervisor. The nursing supervisor said we don't want you to press charges against her because of the situation. So we didn't. She sued me and another officer for false arrest. We had a hearing in court in Knox County. The jury of 12 people said we didn't do anything wrong. And I testified before them. And those are the only lawsuits that I can remember. 2 arose out of one incident. And then that incident later. So the fact that I have been sued should not bar me from, but those are actions that I was taking to protect the public. And if that's the case, I've sued the Board of Law Examiners. Does that make you all wrong too? It should be the same thing. And I don't, you know, I'm just saying. So those are the reasons why I was sued. And also the chief of police at the University of Tennessee was sued, and 2 police officers. While I was down there, Anthony Bowman and Chief Yovella for hanging, somebody hung a sign over the bridge at the University of Tennessee, freedom of speech case. And they told the guy to take it down. He took it down. They were protesting the death of one of their people by a police officer. He took it down and later on he came and put the sign back. The police came, Anthony Bowman and that other officer, they came and they got in a fight with the guy. And the man sued, the charges were dismissed. And Yovella and the other officer, the 2 lost that case. They ordered it against him, because they violated his freedom of speech rights. Because if you can hang a sign that says go Vols, you can sign one up that says KPD kills people. So, you know, they had to change their policy. But he lost that lawsuit. I actually won the lawsuit that I was involved in both cases. So that shouldn't be held against me. So any other questions? Emerge partially well, so there were some flyers that I think were put around the Nashville School of Law and they had comments about Dean Koch as a judge and about the Board of Judicial Conduct. Would you like to address that? The witness Charles Van Morgan, that was in reference to the complaint I made with the judge. And I was running for public office. And I was trying to get attention to my political campaign and trying to be very inflammatory without crossing the line. Everything I said on those flyers I thought about and believed it to be true. Now, they have a bigger platform than me if they want to deny this stuff. The thing I said about the Board of Judicial Conduct, they didn't even look into the complaint I made where the judge that I already talked about allowed a deputy sheriff to tamper with a witness. And that's what I was referring to. They dismissed a complaint without even looking at without even investigating it. My attorney said, and the order says that my attorney said he didn't have any problem with the way the judge acted. What he told me is he told the person that called him that he didn't make the complaint. Now that's different than I don't have any problem with the way the judge acted. Because he's the one that told me exactly what he heard the deputy sheriff tell the lady, which is exactly what I heard, which is exactly what my sister heard. And I wasn't an attorney. And I know that you can use that against me. Any action is considered as if you are an attorney. But I wasn't an attorney then. And before I was denied, I did not do that. So I hope that you don't hold that against me. If I'm given a license, I will uphold the judicial system and not say bad stuff about judges, even if they did something wrong. But I filed a complaint through the appropriate procedure. Mr. Long, and I want to follow up on those statements a little bit because I think that you just told us that you acknowledged the statements made were inflammatory, but you went up to the line but didn't cross it. Right? So from what I understand, there was a picture of Judge McMillan, who was the domestic judge who entered the order of protection, social order of protection. You referred to him as a dirty judge, correct? The witness Charles Van Morgan, yes. Mars Long, and other than, you told us that he was sitting on the bench, and in your opinion, essentially, coaching witnesses to give the answers he needed. Other than that conduct, is there anything that you attribute to Judge McMillan that led you to believe that he was a dirty judge? The witness Charles Van Morgan, yes. Mr. Long, tell us what that is. The witness, okay. He didn't let me defend myself. Mr. Long, okay. The witness Charles Van Morgan, he yelled at me, and that's what I was there for. My attorney sat in his courtroom all day and he ruled against people, and he gave order of protections on every person that he heard for a whole day. Mr. Long, which of those orders of protection do you think reflect the fact that he was a dirty judge? Which ones were wrong? The witness, the one that he ordered against me. Mr. Long, and I'm just trying to make sure because you said all of these other cases he entered orders of protection all day long. Do you disagree or have a reason to disagree with the entry of an order of protection in those other cases? The witness Charles Van Morgan, no. My attorney did because he said that was astonishing to him. I didn't sit in his courtroom and I wouldn't have been in his courtroom other than getting that order. And I've already apologized for what I said to my sister. And that is very inflammatory about that judge. The way he treated me was very wrong. Mr. Long, I understand that, Mr. Morgan, and I appreciate the facts of your particular case you have issue with. My concern is, and you know this as someone with a law degree, we deal with particulars. We deal with specifics. And so some of these accusations and comments that you floated to the public like someone being a dirty judge or the judicial system being available to the highest bidder, those are very blanket conclusory statements, that unless you have specific factual instances that can be used to justify them, I question whether or not they're statements that somebody who wants to be a lawyer should be making in public. I understand you have a right to complain, you have a right to campaign, you have a right to run for governor and do all the things that you did. But as custodians of the judicial system in Tennessee, which is what attorneys are, we also have a duty to preserve the integrity and the confidence in the system. And unless we have specific instances of conduct that we can point to and say this judge should not have done this, then wouldn't you agree with me that it's a little dangerous to be making blanket statements for the public to see? The witness, the judiciary may need to clean up its own house. Mr. Long, and I don't disagree, the witness, hang on. Can I finish? Mr. Long, yes. Absolutely. The witness Charles Van Morgan, okay. The last presidential candidate in 2024 November, the judiciary and the criminal justice system and the civil justice system was on the ballot, I believe. And I think we lost because we put a convicted felon in the White House. So either people don't believe you or they don't care. So I'm just saying that's my position. Now I'm just a sole person, I'm South Knoxville, raised poor, son of a widow. Judges have all the power in the world, too, they're not victims. So I don't agree with you. Absolutely not. If I'm an attorney, I will not run down judges. I was not an attorney. Now I went through this at the last board. I mean, they dug, and if you keep digging attorney you'll find stuff. Let me ask you, have you committed a felony? I think that's fair, because the last person on the board did when they were questioning me pretty much like you are. So have you committed a felony? Mr. Long, I'm not under oath. I'm not a witness. The witness Charles Van Morgan, okay. Well, I'm just saying. So that's my position I make. You're not going to run over me. I'm not going to tolerate that. The things I said about judges I thought about, and I've already told you, and if you like due process you'll listen. I won't do that as an attorney. I assure you of that. So, that's about as firm as I can put it. I didn't come up here to be run down. And I know what you're doing. You're digging, and I don't appreciate that. That's wrong. Mr. Long, Mr. Morgan, I'm just trying to find out the basis under which you made these statements, the reasons for them. The witness Charles Van Morgan, okay, well, let me read you this, where the lady that was a convicted felon asked me, well, could you not have put that on your application? You left that completely out. She was lying about her timesheet, knew that she had been lying about her timesheet, was on vacation during her timesheet. And she's questioning me about being out on the side of the road risking my life for public safety. And she should be ashamed of herself. So my response, as frankly as I can be is, when I'm attorney I won't do that. I didn't do it before another board terminated me, nothing against you all, and I won't do it after that. Now, that's all I can say about that. Now, I know you have the right to turn me down. You may not give me my law license, but I'm not going to sit here and be nitpicked. Mr. Long, well, and, Mr. Morgan, I don't want to nitpick you. That's not my intention at all. We've got some statements that if you were an attorney the witness Charles Van Morgan, I won't say. Mr. Long, I understand. But let me make sure I understand. If you were an attorney would you agree that some of these statements cross lines as to what attorneys should say about the judicial system? The witness Charles Van Morgan, absolutely they would cross the line. And I won't do it. Mr. Long, and I understand you weren't an attorney when you made these statements. But that's what I'm trying to find out is that you agree that those statements for an attorney would cross the line. The witness Charles Van Morgan, I do. Mr. Long, okay. That's all I'm trying, and I'm trying to find out if there is, if you say Judge McMillan is a dirty judge, and you have a basis for saying that, I understand that, and I want to get to that basis. I'm not trying to run you down. I'm not trying to put you in a corner. I'm just trying to figure out what the basis for making these statements were, if there was specific conduct. And if there's not, if you would agree with me that it's conduct that an attorney can engage in. The witness Charles Van Morgan, I agree. I agree 100%, and I will not do that. You've got to understand, I'm sitting here with a lot of education, a lot of enthusiasm to help people. And I can't do it. So it's nothing personal. Mr. Long, and nothing personal for me as well. The witness Charles Van Morgan, I don't take it personal. I defend myself so, and no matter what you decide, and I'll answer questions, I want my law license. It's been a pleasure to meet you all. You've been very attentive. And thank you very much. And the other board was, quite frankly, not like that. One lady went to sleep. This is important to me. Thank you all very much. But I'll be glad to answer any questions. I'll stay here all day. I'd like to have my law license and I ask you all to give it to me. And I hope that you'll do that in spite of pressure not to. That you believe that you do have the power to do that, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. I'll do what I can do to help people. I think the jails are full of innocent people, and I've got a sociology degree to believe that. And I will abide by the rules and be honest. And I won't make frivolous complaints against judges, which I don't believe I do. And I won't say anything against the judiciary. I'm very careful what I say. And a lot of times it's best just to not say anything. Mrs. Long, the board may have additional questions, but I do want to point out for our chair and for you, you have one witness in the Zoom waiting room. I can't identify them. It just says iPhone 3. So we'll need to know who that is. And I've been told by our administrator that you have a witness downstairs. If there's somebody that you want to bring up, I can tell her to bring that person up. Mr. Parsley, yeah. We'd like to hear from your witnesses if you'd like to bring them. The witness Charles Van Morgan, okay. Mr. Valone, you want me to tell her to bring her up? The witness, yeah. She is, if I can preface, she is very sick. She has cirrhosis of the liver. And I've been with her since I was the better part, since I was about 22 years old. She's the mother of my 3 children, and she encouraged me to apply again. And I didn't want to go through this. And she's agreed to testify for me. She's very sweet. Mrs. Long, do you know who is in the Zoom waiting room for you? The witness Charles Van Morgan, it's probably Donna, my sister. Mrs. Long, okay. Do you have the ability to contact them, call them on the phone or something and verify that's who it is? I'm happy to let them in, but I don't want to do it with somebody we don't know who it is. Ms. Wenzel, or maybe confirm the last 4 digits of her number? Mrs. Long, all it says is iPhone Lisa has tried to text this person or chat with this person, but apparently they're not seeing the chats. And I'll tell you, Mr. Morgan, you also had another person in the waiting room under the name blocked out to protect this person against retaliation by state government, but there's no last name to it. They've dropped out of the waiting room, so you need to contact that person if you want him to get back into it. The witness Charles Van Morgan, yeah. He's the captain with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Mrs. Long, well, just so you know he was here. He's no longer here. The witness Charles Van Morgan, yeah. I can call him real quick. Whichever one you want me to call first is fine. But, name blocked out to protect this person against retaliation by state government, he wrote a letter. I mean, it's up to you. He wrote a letter for me for the Highway Patrol. He's a retired captain. That means the world to me that he's willing to step and testify. And whichever one you want to call is fine with me. I appreciate you all's time. I'm glad I'm not paying you. It would cost a lot. Ms. Holder, who would you prefer us to hear first? The witness, probably Michelle. Mrs. Long, she's the one downstairs. They should be bringing her up. Marsha Parsley, we're the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners. Could you please state your name for the court reporter? The witness, Michelle Marie Morgan. Mr. Parsley, thank you, Ms. Morgan. And if you'll swear in the witness. Michelle Marie Morgan was called as a witness, and after having been first duly sworn, testified as follows. Mr. Parsley, thank you for being with us today, Ms. Morgan. We understand that you have some things that you'd like to say. The witness, I do. Mr. Parsley, okay. We'd like to hear those. The witness, I've known Charles Van for 40 plus years. And he's already been interested in law enforcement. And during his time in law enforcement, he often went above and beyond what the job required. I used to get mad at him because he'd sit out in the driveway and do his police reports, free time for the state, because he had certain times that he had to be off. And used to make me mad. I'd call him and ask him, where are you at? I'm out in the driveway doing the reports. And he's always been that way. He loves law enforcement. He loves law. I have been a witness to him trying to learn law, and me being a defendant or somebody else, in the courts. But he's always went after drunk drivers under the influence, or held accountable and understanding of potential of their danger. And that was just a freak accident. I didn't even see the wreck when I first viewed the video. And I don't know how anyone could see it because I've been down that road. And it's dark before they put lights up. And he's just very truthful about stuff. I mean, whether you like it or not, he's truthful. And I don't like it sometimes because he'll call me out on some of the stuff. And I'm like, huh. And he'll call the kids out on some of the stuff and the kids like to argue with him. But throughout his whole career, Van has demonstrated what's the word I'm looking for? Confidence. And moral, he's very moral about what he did. He didn't want to see people get killed on the highways. That's why he went after DUIs. He constantly went after DUIs. And there's occasionally I've seen him chasing cars. And I give it a few hours, and I tell him to slow down because it scared the living daylights out of me because I didn't want to raise my 3 kids by myself because I have 2 boys and a daughter. But the concerns that the board has raised in the last hearing, it is important to consider his character, who he really is. Nobody knows who he really is except for someone who has been with him. And I've been with him. And I can tell you he's not a threat to nobody. I mean, his bark is worse than his bite. And it's just, the way he was trained at his academy. And then he lost his hearing, some of his hearing. And I'm so glad he got hearing aids because now it's a little bit more peaceful at home because he can hear. He can hear and you can tell. And it was so funny watching him walk out of the doctor's office because he heard the fans in the garage for the first time. And I said they've always been there, and he said no they haven't, and I said yeah, they have. And so he tended to talk loud before he got his hearing checked. And that's just the way he compensated for the hearing loss. He thought he had to talk louder. And I've got 6% hearing loss from working at the Tennessee Department of Corrections, shooting guns and stuff like that, and inmates screaming up in your ear and your face. But Van has always talked loud since he started in his law enforcement career. And his sister, she's not been around him. We didn't hardly ever go around her, the one that filed the order of protection. And this was all over his mother's house. And I just don't see him being a threat to his family. And I don't understand why she did what she did, except for the fact that she told us, I could be your best friend or I can be your worst enemy. And she ended up being an enemy. But I really would appreciate it if you all would just give him an opportunity. Judge him for yourselves. Don't judge him from what people have said. Don't judge him from, he's not a bad person. He really isn't. He'll do anything for the kids and not as much as I would, but he'd do anything for the kids. I spoil my kids. I'm not ashamed to say. That's what mamas are supposed to do, to a certain degree, until they get out of hand. But I think he'd be a benefit to the law and attorney because he can do it. I've watched him. I've gone to court him when he was a state trooper. I've watched him testify in court. I've watched other police officers testify. And call me biased, call me what you want, but he's one of the best. He's a great speaker. And just give him a chance. Just base him and judge him on his character that you have seen before you and not on hearsay. Because hearsay, if you heard what they said about me, you wouldn't like it. So hearsay is horrible. And tend not to try to judge people by hearsay. Because, first of all, I'm nobody's judge. And you might be, but I'm nobody's judge. And I just think he would be a good asset to the law profession. So that's what I had to say. His honesty, he's sometimes way too honest for his own good. But I'd rather have someone who's honest than have somebody that would lie to me constantly. So I appreciate you all's time and listening. Mr. Parsley, thank you. We appreciate you being here. The witness, and if there was anything else to say I would, but I can't think of anything else. Mr. Sloan, we appreciate you coming down. The witness, I do have one question. Are you all going to be making those Zoom calls? Because his sister called me and asked me. Mr. Sloan, we've got one person waiting in the Zoom waiting room right now. I don't know if that's her or not because it just identifies as iPhone 3. If she's in there right now, that's her. The witness, she's in there right now. Mr. Sloan, she's the only one. The witness, thank you all so much. You all have a great day, and thank you. Ms. Morgan was dismissed. Ms. Holder, Mr. Morgan, can I offer you some water? Because I just noticed you don't have the witness Charles Van Morgan, I'm good. Thank you. Mr. Sloan, and who is this again? I'm sorry. The witness Charles Van Morgan, this is Donna Holbrook, my sister. She was there at the incident involving my sister with the order of protection since that is a big issue. Mr. Sloan, she has probably set her iPhone down since it's been so long. Ms. Holbrook, I believe you're muted. I don't know if you can hear us or not. Can you take your iPhone off mute? Ms. Holbrook, can you hear me now? Mr. Parsley, yes, ma'am. Ms. Holbrook, we're the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners and we understand that you're going to say a few things here for Mr. Morgan. And we appreciate that. We're going to have the court reporter swear you in. Donna Holbrook was called as a witness and after having been first duly sworn, testified as follows. Mr. Parsley, thank you, Ms. Holbrook. We're happy to hear what you have to say, Annie. The witness Charles Van Morgan, I'm good. Thank you. Mr. Sloan, and who is this again? I'm sorry. The witness, this is Donna Holbrook, my sister. She was there at the incident involving my sister with the order of protection since that is a big issue. Mr. Sloan, she has probably set her iPhone down since it's been so long. Ms. Holbrook, I believe you're muted. I don't know if you can hear us or not. Can you take your iPhone off mute? Ms. Holbrook, can you hear me now? Mr. Parsley, yes, ma'am. Ms. Holbrook, we're the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners and we understand that you're going to say a few things here for Mr. Morgan. And we appreciate that. We're going to have the court reporter swear you in. Donna Holbrook was called as a witness and after having been first duly sworn, testified as follows. Mr. Parsley, thank you, Ms. Holbrook. We're happy to hear what you have to say. The witness, well, I wasn't planning on making a statement. I thought I'd answer questions. But I've been his sister for, 64 years his age, and he's a very good man, a very good person, one of the best brothers you could ask. He works very hard to do what's right. Our father died from a drunk driving incident back when we were babies, and it has always been his goal to keep drunk drivers off the road. And that's just his heart, and he's just always wanted to do that. And I don't know what else. He's just a good human being. He's a little bit hard of hearing, so he's just a little bit louder, so I have to tell him to be quiet. But he's a very good man, very good brother. Mr. Parsley, thank you, Ms. Holbrook. We appreciate that. Mr. Morgan, do you have any questions for her? The witness Charles Van Morgan, that's all. And thank you very much, Donna. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Mr. Parsley, thank you, Ms. Holbrook. Ms. Holbrook was dismissed. Mr. Morgan, I was going to call the very day lieutenant. He's a retired captain. He wrote a letter. So if he don't get to talk to you, he did write a letter. And I also got another letter from a Knoxville police officer that I met. Let me see if I can find his number real quickly. And I won't keep you waiting if he's not available. He was in the room. So I don't know if you wanted to ask him any questions. Captain, name blocked out to protect against retaliation by the state of Tennessee. He's retired now, so he can be a little more candid than he could be while he was working for the state. So I'm just saying, that does play a part in what people are allowed to say. And he did write me a letter, and there's a lot of really good people that work for the highway patrol and they risk their life every day to provide for public safety. And some, quite frankly, not so good. Here's his phone number. Let me see if I can call him. If he don't answer me within the next few minutes, just take note that he was on there. Which is pretty awesome for me to have a former captain with the Tennessee Highway Patrol that I worked with, had experiences with, to say good words about me. I think that's pretty powerful. And so he's not going to get on here right now, but if you'll take note that he was on here. Ms. Wenzel, so, Mr. Morgan, I appreciate that, you look like you're packing up. I guess I do have a question. And I want to go back to the very beginning because I think it's important. Because you said that you wanted today to feel as though we had listened to you, and that we had heard you, and that you had received due process today. And so I want to be sure you brought, and you made a good presentation, you answered all these questions, and you were very organized. But I want to be sure that we've covered all the things and heard all the things that you wanted to say because that was the first thing you said that was important to you that you be heard today. So I don't want you to feel rushed out of here. We'll listen to you. So that's my question is, have you said everything you wanted to say? Because that's what you said at the very beginning is that you wanted us to hear you. M. Art Morgan Charles Van Morgan, right? I do. And consider what I said and make a decision based on that without any external influence. Now, I think that I deserve my law license. And I'm not going to go on the record and say that I don't think that. If you decide against me, I'll disagree with you. I think that's wrong and I've been mistreated. I think I'll honor the decision. I won't practice law. But you, from what I've seen, you have listened and stayed awake, which wasn't the case the last time. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you listening to me and I hope that you decide in my favor. I'm not going to go on the record and say that I agree with your decision. I don't know what it is yet, because I think I deserve my law license. I know that I've got a law degree and I passed the bar exam. Even the person that interviewed me for my law license in the pre-interview said that I think that if you graduate from law school and pass the bar exam, you should get your law license. So even he said that. So that's what I think. But I appreciate you listening. And apparently you did. But if you don't give me my law license, I won't agree with you. That's as honest as I can be. I deserve it. I've earned it just like you all have. And I hope that you decide that. If you don't, then I'll explore legal options until the law changes. I can't do anything right now. I won't file a frivolous lawsuit. But as far as I can see, you have been very pleasant and attentive and thank you very much for that. That's about the best I can do. I'm not going to relent to not getting my law license. I'm just not going to do it. I did not relent to dropping out of law school, and I didn't relent, and I passed the bar exam. And I'm not going to relent not having my law license. But thank you. M.R. Parsley, thank you. M.R. Sloan, thank you, Mr. Morgan. I appreciate you. And thank you for your work on the DUIs. It's important to have people that are committed to that. M.R. Morgan, thank you. I appreciate that. Remember that when you see a trooper, how hard they work and what they see. It's really horrible. Proceedings were adjourned at 2:54 p.m. Reporter's Certificate I, Emily L. Sype, Court Reporter, do hereby certify that I recorded to the best of my skill and ability by machine shorthand all the proceedings in the foregoing transcript, and that said transcript is a true, accurate, and complete transcript to the best of my ability. I further certify that I am not an attorney or counsel of any of the parties, nor a relative or employee of any attorney or counsel connected with the action, nor financially interested in the action. Signed this 23rd day of December 2024. Emily L. Sype RPR, LCR. Tennessee LCR number 608. Expires June 30th, 2026.